What were your thoughts about the terrorist attacks that happened in Ottawa last week and also on the soldier just outside of Montreal early last week?
I was surprised that it happened in Canada. It seems we hear about it happening in the States all the time, but to think that there'd be a terrorist attack in our own country is very shocking to me.
Do you think that Islamic terrorists, that jihadists, are targeting Canadians? Do you think that they're a threat to us?
I do. I really do think they're a threat to us.
Why?
Well, they said if we go over there and attack them, they will respond, and I think that's what they're doing.
What do you think about our efforts to join with the United Kingdom and the United States in order to try to take out or contain ISIS that's running rampant through Iraq and Syria, killing people?
Well, I think it's something we have to do, but it's just a shame that we have to do it.
Yeah. What do you think Canada should do in order to fight domestic terrorism here at home? Some soldiers are being told to not even wear their uniforms off base because they're worried that they're going to be attacked by a terrorist.
That I really don't know what they can do about that.
What were your thoughts, sir, when you saw the terrorism attacks in Ottawa and the terrorist attacks on the soldier outside of Montreal? He was run down.
The way things are going around the world, I figured sooner or later it would get to us, and it has. I don't like it, but
Do you think that Islamic terrorism, that jihad, is a threat to Canada and Canadians?
yes, same as everybody else. They won't treat us any different than they do. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care.
Some analysts who are experts in law and that sort of thing, living in Toronto and Ottawa and such, are saying this is all a big misunderstanding. It was just a mentally ill homeless person. It's got nothing at all to do with radical Islam or terrorism, and we should all not really pay attention to it. What do you think about that characterization?
No, we have to pay attention to it because it's born and bred right into them. I don't know how you combat something like that when they're taught right from they take their first breath.
When you heard about it and you saw all the stories, did you call that terrorism in your own mind?
Yes.
Yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sir, what were your thoughts when you saw the terrorist attacks in Ottawa last week and the other one in just outside of Montreal against that soldier?
I thought things were getting pretty close to home. It's getting pretty scary and pretty unpredictable.
Do you think that we are being targeted or that we're under threat from Islamic Jihad or Islamic terrorism?
I expect we are.
Is that went through your mind when you saw what was going down in Ottawa, that this is a terrorist attack?
Definitely.
Why do you think some folks already in Ottawa and Montreal are saying this isn't really terrorism, we shouldn't call it that, it was an isolated incident, we aren't really under threat? Why do you think some folks are characterizing it that
I
way?
guess it's pretty hard to face the reality because we've never had this to deal with before that I can ever remember in our time.
Was there anything specific that stood out to you with the Ottawa attack specifically that's kind of stayed in your mind?
Well, I just wonder why perhaps there wasn't more security. That's, maybe that could have helped to prevent what happened. I'm not sure. This is my thoughts.
It's surreal for me. I worked there actually for 11 years on Parliament Hill, and seeing bullet holes in the caucus room doors was just mind-blowing for me. What do you think? Is there anything that you think we could do that could help either fight homegrown jihadists or terrorists, or those kind of bigger plotted groups overseas, the ones like the Toronto 18 or the Via Rail plot that was stopped?
Well, we've got to step up homeland security, especially on places that could be targeted like Parliament Hill, and take more serious any potential threats.
Do you have any thoughts on the fact that some soldiers are being told or strongly suggested to not wear their uniforms in public when they're going to and from work?
Well, if that would keep them from being targeted, I don't think I have a problem with it.
I found it sad, but I was the same way. I don't find, it's up to them, but I found that sad.
Well, it is, but on the other hand, we don't want to see any more needless death either.
What were your thoughts when you saw the terrorist attacks in Ottawa and in Montreal against the soldier last week?
Oh, I was awestruck. It was so sorrowful for myself, for everyone. My father was in World War II, served in the North Atlantic. My brother was airborne in SARTAC. So I have a deep bond with all the forces people, both men and women. And I was just heartbroken, as I'm sure everyone in Canada was.
When you saw what was happening, Do you see this as a terrorist attack?
Oh, certainly I do. Yes, and we've seen that coming, I think, through the news media. And I think that CSIS or whoever is higher up should, if they know of people that have tendencies towards this, they should be locked up, I don't know, or someplace where we know of, the rest of Canada know, that we're safe.
Do you think Canada is under threat or being targeted by Islamic Jihad or that brand of terrorism?
Oh yes, following all through the news media and everything, of course, yes. And I am a little afraid of what's happening in our country today.
Do you compare it at all? I know there are lone wolf incidents, right, where it's smaller kill rates, but do you compare it to what happened on 9/11 or Madrid or say even Drummer Rigby when he had his head cut off by those terrorists? Do you see it in the same light?
I see it coming in the same light, and that's what I'm afraid of, that it's going to develop into that. When you see we talk about the beheadings over in the Middle East and whatnot, and I'm actually afraid myself the odd time. I think, geez, do I want to go here or do I want to go to a big city now? I don't think I'm going to.
Anything else you want people to know about your thoughts on your responses of what happened last week and going forward?
I think we just have to be strong and vigilant and keep our trust to our CMP and our CSIS to protect us.
Sir, what went through your mind? What did you think when you saw the terrorist attacks in Ottawa last week and also that soldier being run down by the jihadist?
Well, I was devastated, absolutely devastated. This shouldn't happen anywhere, and especially here in Canada. It's terrible.
Did you see it as a terrorist attack?
Most certainly I did, yes.
What do you think we need to do in order to fight this going forward? How do we stop this?
Well, we've got to keep doing what we're doing, and we've got to get more support over in the Far East, and or the Middle East, I should say, and continue doing what we're doing, trying to eliminate the ISIS terrorist group and many more of them around the world.
Do you think Canada is a target at risk of Islamic Jihad and Islamic terrorists?
Well, all the countries are a target, not only Canada. We're all targets. And anybody that opposes them is a target.
Yeah.
We just got to keep opposing, that's all.
Yeah. What did you think when you saw that he got so deep into Parliament Hill, straight down Centre Block, and came so close to both the Prime Minister and the opposition?
Well, I could say something I won't say, but however, it's pretty grim when people get into the buildings like the Parliament buildings and that far in a building and still have no opposition at all. So it's a poor showing in that respect.
Some soldiers are being told or suggested to not wear their uniforms off base because they could be a target. They could be at risk. What do you think of that?
I don't think that's a good policy whatsoever. We've got to show these people that we are strong and we'll wear our uniforms no matter where we are.
We need to stand a little stronger and be a little more unified as a country. I do believe that there's a bit of terror being evoked as well. I think that this is part of jihad or the Islamic State of terror, but I don't think that every Muslim that lives in Canada is indeed the terrorist that we believe they are. That's exactly what they want. And I also feel that we should protect our own a little bit better. The people that live in this country, the military not being able to wear the uniforms, I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel that it's making us look weaker than what we actually are, and we indeed need to look strong and unified at this point, and I don't believe that we do.
Well, I think it's a sad day for Canada. There's no doubt about that. And I think that the government will perhaps have to beef up a bit of security. In this day and age, things are not like they were many, many years ago. It's different. I think security was a bit laxed, and they might have to beef it up until things get straightened out a bit.